It's the time we'll come back to our conversation then about what we're hearing. There will possibly be moves now to get people into helping key sectors such as social care and agriculture. But on the work front, we learn that there will be support offered now to more than 100,000 people to help increase their pay while getting access to more one-on-one time with what's called a work coach. Let's put some detail behind that headline. Chloe Smith is a Conservative MP and Secretary of State for Work and Pensions and joins me now. Can we get a little bit more detail? How will this actually work, Secretary of State? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick, and thanks very much for having me on the show. I'm really excited about this measure, and what it does is it helps people to get more support as they seek more hours of work and better paid work. And after all, of course, this is what's really going to be helpful and important and very significant for many households and many working people at what is, after all, a very anxious time. So we want to be able to help people to continue to get more support from work coaches. Work coaches are the staff that we have in our job centres across the country to be able to help people get into a job and a better job and the right career for them. And what today's move does is it allows more people to continue to get more of that support.
So how are the sort of boundaries being extended then? What sort of people are being brought in that were before without, if you know what I mean, Secretary of State?
Of course, and the technical point there is that essentially what we're asking people to do is to work for more hours before they no longer have to come in to speak to the work coach at the job centre. So that number of hours moves up from around 8 to 12 hours. So in other words, we're asking people who are working up to 12 hours to continue to get support from a work coach in a job centre. And that is all part, of course, of the government's plan for growth, because what we want to do is to help people get into jobs. We want to help people to take up some of the many thousands of vacancies that there are in the economy at present. And that is my absolute focus as the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions.
So this is what attracted a degree of criticism over the weekend with these people who possibly need to work harder or they'll have their benefits reduced. This is allied to that, is it then, Secretary of State?
Well, of course, it's the case that in our welfare system, we do expect people to have responsibilities that come with the rights. And I think that's absolutely fair. And I think actually most people in the country also think that's absolutely fair. So what the Chancellor set out on Friday with my 100% support is that we will ask people to get more support from their work coach in the way that we've just described, but also that we will make sure that what's called the claimant commitment is properly supportive of that aim of helping people to get into work and higher paid work and more hours.
How will we know if this is working?
Well, we'll know if it's working by seeing those people in work, of course, which obviously we will.
I mean, typically,
we will have,
what area
in the figures.
Is this the agricultural and social care sector we're directing these people to? What areas are we looking at, Secretary of State?
Well, those are examples, but of course, actually, there's vacancies across a range of sectors at the moment. And I think the real point, Nick, is that actually people will know themselves if this plan is working because they will be the ones in those jobs and experiencing that better opportunity. And that's what we're all about as the government.
What happens if someone doesn't get involved, doesn't sign up to this?
Well, the welfare system, as I say, has that combination already of rights and responsibilities. And so one of the bottom lines here is that if a person doesn't engage reasonably with the job offers that are available or the support that's out there available, then ultimately, it is possible for their benefit to be taken away, and that's always been, I think, the bottom line of the modern welfare system. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that. My absolute focus will be using the measures that the other measures that the Chancellor set out on Friday, and all of the efforts of this fresh government to be able to get people into those jobs, because that's what opportunity really consists of.
And the number of hours again, you said, was it 12 hours? Did you say? Is that what they have to engage in?
That's right, Nick. Yes, it's going up to 12 today. And indeed, the Chancellor also spoke about how it will go up further in due course, actually, in the rest of the year.
Do we know what it'll go up to in the rest of the year?
15, yes.
15 hours, right. And if they don't do it, they don't get their benefits. And if they've got children, why should their children suffer?
Well, that's not the case, Nick. And as I say, as I think you know, the modern welfare system has a number of cushions in it to make sure that exactly of that point. For example, children or those where there's caring responsibilities of other kinds. There's of course protections in of that kind, and that's exactly as it should be. But my focus is on helping all those who can work and are in a position to work to be able to work more and to work better and get paid more.
These are obviously very important people, these work coaches. They are a crucial part of this. What's their success rate?
Well, very high, actually. We have an evidence base that says that our system in this country works and that it helps people to go into work. And I think if you look at that in comparison to other nations, for example, our international competitors, we're in a good place. We do have a record unemployment
rate. Is it like 80%, 90%? Do we have a success rate that we have from these work coaches? Sounds a very trying job.
It is a tough job, and I'm really grateful, actually, to all the people who work in my department and do that job. I'm not able to give you one single number that would answer your question. There isn't, I'm afraid, one single number that would answer your question. But the key point, I think, really, is that actually at a very anxious time for people, we recognise that as a government. We've put in place packages of support, including on energy bills and including, of course, with the broader cost of living package for those on low incomes. And that then goes hand in hand with all of this effort to get people into work, because that's the best way to help people be most resilient to those stresses of the cost of living.
Last couple of questions while I have the benefit of you on the line. There's some headlines in some of the papers that there could be the first cabinet row over the necessity for an increase to migration for areas such as agriculture and others. Do you recognise the row, and whose side are you on?
I'm on the side of people being able to get into these jobs, and ideally I would like that to be British workers. I think we've got a great opportunity here to help British businesses fill their vacancies and to help British people make the most of those opportunities.
Mostly low-paid jobs, though, Secretary of State, one has to say, in agriculture and social care. Agriculture and social care, respectfully, are quite low-paid, are they not?
Well, I was making the slightly broader point across multiple sectors. Where we have vacancies actually in the economy at the moment is across a range of sectors.
Will we see people brought in from overseas to fill agriculture and social care jobs as is being mooted? Is that what you anticipate will happen?
I think it's perfectly possible for that to happen, because, of course, that is in line with what the Prime Minister stated very clearly during her campaign to be the leader of the Conservative Party, and I'm quite comfortable with that. I think there's a blend here that will enable the economy to grow. Of course, the Home Secretary will be setting out more in due course on migration plans.
Finally, one of your predecessors, Therese Coffey, when she took the job in 2019, she said she would be helped because she had, quote, actually claimed benefits 3 times before I became an MP at different stages of my life, close quotes. I hope you don't think it a cheeky question. Have you ever needed to claim benefits, Secretary of State?
I have not, but I will share with you, Nick, one other point of experience actually that is directly in line with lots of people who get the support of my department, and that is actually shortly before joining the department I was getting cancer treatment, and I was receiving chemotherapy and surgery and radiotherapy. I'm all fine now, and I'm incredibly grateful to those who helped me in that way. But we all have different types of experience actually that means that we can sympathise and empathise with others, and crucially that we do work to then get the best for our country, which is what I'm engaged in right now.
I'm grateful for your time. Thank you, Chloe Smith, Work and Pension Secretary, appearing here on LBC. Where let's take one call. Let's take one call on that. We'll go a little bit late to the news. We will talk with John in Brighton. John, you want to comment on what you've been hearing? Good morning.
Hello there, Nick. Just a very quick comment. I've got someone who has not worked for 10 years, because I work for the DWP. Not worked for 10 years, worked for 3 weeks